Being a parent is an experience that no one is prepared to. No one is a perfect parent. This video is for you. Welcome to another episode of Heal Me, Healing You. So, sometime a few weeks ago, a youngster got stabbed by his father, a 19-year-old. His name was Alex. I read in the newspaper that this boy got in an argument with his father because he hid his laptop, and the boy got angry and get in an altercation, and then he prevent him from eating dinner, which escalated and they start arguing, and I could imagine the turmoil. Obviously the details were not shared, but I am a parent of my own and I know how that argument could escalate. And the father ended up picking up a knife and stabbing him. And I read that before that he choked him and shouted at him, they fought. And it just made me sit down and remember my parenting days. When I was a parent, well, I am a parent still, but when I was a parent of children growing up, I was a very busy person. Not only I was busy, but I was hurting because I had been through a lot. And work and everything was really stressful. Therefore, when I come home, my patience was very little. And also, my parents was not very loving and caring. Therefore, I was not very effective to my children. And this caused me to be a distant parent. I was always solving things with shouting and getting on. And then my partner at that time was also the same. He had problems with communication, and the way how he used to communicate, or he still communicate that way, is by shouting and cussing. Because he said that if you don't cuss a child or somebody, they will not understand. It's sad that some people think that the only way that they could communicate with others is by shouting and expressing the anger. And I am here to tell you that your children are not the reflection of you at some point. What tends to happen is that because we've been through so much, we tend to project ourselves into our children, and we are so scared that they came out like us that we will try to shock them into understanding that they need to change their ways. And let me tell you, this technique does not work because so many times I see my own child and I see myself, because I project myself into her, which is not true, it's imaginary. Your child is not you. You have to learn to try to separate those two worlds about your mother and you, and your child is in the middle. Whatever mistakes your mother made or your father, you will pick up a few because that is your environment. You grow up in it, and sadly we become what we live in. We become our environment. Therefore, yes, well, some of the threats and some of the mistakes will be repeated because, well, I'm a Christian, so I will talk about generational curses and strongholds. We will pick up some of the things and we will carry it into our generation to come. But hopefully, in the name of Jesus, we break in those generational curses by teaching our children some of the lies that were taught to us, but then we have to get better at repairing. It have plenty situation in which my children and I got in an argument, and I was so powerless. I felt powerless. I resorted from shouting and violence because you want those children to be shocked into listening to you. And that tactic does not work. And one thing I want to advise you is that after that child crosses 7 years, you have to be even better repairing, because after 7 years, all the psychology theories tell you that the child is already created a foundation. And you know, when you do a foundation, and if the foundation is crooked, what's going to happen to the walls and to everything else? Everything else will be crooked. So you have to know that if you didn't lay a good foundation, meaning that you were not there for your child emotionally, when the child had the first problem, when you were not the first, remember that we parents, we are the first friend, the first lover, the first, so that child is looking at you for literally everything that he will know about life, how to communicate with others. If you realize, if you don't have a really good relationship with other females, look at your mother, look at your relationship with your mother, and then you will understand why you are unable to establish friendship with other females, healthy friendships. And we have to know that that child is learning from us, and after 7 years that child already will have an idea of what life looks like and how he will cope with every problem that comes to him or her. Obviously they will pick up on other things after that, and obviously it will start to add up, and what happened, it will create the adult. Plenty things that my father taught me that were wrong and my mother taught me that they were wrong, I learned it. And therefore when I grow up, I couldn't know how to choose a partner, because I thought that partners was what my father and my mother looked like. I keep seeking relationships that were not very healthy, that were toxic, because I had that inside of me that was taught by my parents. All this to say is that what happened to that child, he was a victim of his environment, and the parents, obviously they wanted better for him, but they don't know how to express it. The only way was hidden. If you went to hide your child laptop at 19 years old, that child already think he's an adult, and he will not take parenting advice, because in his mind will be, where were you when I was small? Why you didn't parent me when I was small? Why you coming at this age to jump in me? And obviously you cannot try to parent a 19-year-old with violence, because it will backfire on you. And I telling you, based on my own experiences, where I try, after I wake up from my slumber, where I was sleeping for all those years with my pain, and I wake up to realize that I had hurt my children in so many ways, because I was growing up while they were growing up. And that is one thing that we need to know, that we, as parents, we grow up with them and we are learning, and some of us are in pain because we've been through too much. And you cannot come and then when you wake up, I realize all what I heard my children. And sometimes I had to breathe deep and be like, that child is just reacting to what you teach her. You taught her to communicate a certain way and to make certain mistakes, and then now that is the consequence, because the words say that don't be fooled. You reap what you plant. You harvest what you plant. If you plant miscommunication, anger, and all those things in your home, obviously that is what you're going to reap. No matter if you wake up now from your traumas and realize that you were doing things not so right, now it will take a lot of patience from your behalf to repair the damage that was done. And I telling you, I plant a lot of bitter fruits that I am eating right now from my children. And I just have to be patient to know that God is faithful to repair whatever damage it was done by my mistakes. And it's not like if I did the mistakes and I was mindful of what I was doing, I was not. I was in a deep sleep in my traumas, because listen, you could be so wounded that you don't even realize how much damage you are doing to those children. But the thing about it is that also my mother, my father was very abusive, and my mother had to raise 4 children. And I always blame her for not being present in my life. How could she be? She was working hard to keep us fed, 4 children. She didn't have her own house. and we were paying rent. She had a very, very tough job where she was a cook, and she didn't even have time to build her own self. She didn't even went to school or try to be better for herself. She was too busy working and mining for us. And I blame her until I reached about 30 something years. I was upset with her. I was like, where were you? Why you never was there? And I used to attack her with my mouth. I used to always try to put her down. And up to now, I started asking for forgiveness because I came to realize that she was busy growing up while we were growing up with her. Please, parents, I ask you, please look at yourself. Study your patterns, your triggers, your traumas. And it's okay if you are not a good parent right now, but I will ask you to wake up and start to check yourself. And if you see certain things that your children are doing that not all right, if they're drinking, if they're smoking, if they're promiscuous, if they not have respect for you, I know that you didn't mean it, but it's consequence of your parenting, and will not be fixed by hiding their devices at 19 years old. It will not work by shouting and cussing them and running them from your house. And I know that if you have a child who is 20 years old and that person still living in your house and it's causing you some trouble, you could help. You could find a place, pay the rent for the first month and say, listen, this is my contribution to you. You really need to stand up on your 2 feet. And do it calmly, peacefully, and try to keep your peace because you are important. And well, I guess this video will have a part 2 because there's so much to be said about parenting, especially in Trinidad and Tobago. We Black people been through a lot, and we learn a lot of our parenting skills from slavery. From our masters, and all those things were passed down from son that say I get it from my grandmother, my mother get it from her mother, and I get it from my mother. We get everything that is passed down from us, and yes, it have very positive things like I could real cook because my grandmother could real cook and my mother could real cook and I could real cook. But there are other things like coping mechanisms, alcoholism, promiscuity, and all those other things that were passed down in our line, and they are flowing through our veins. And they were things that were taught to us by our colonizers. And that is another topic for another day. But anyway, it's time to close up this video. I am not really making videos over 10 minutes, but this time it is. And look out for part 2. Let us be good parents. Get to know yourself so you can be a good parent to your child. Bye. Love you.